I do have potentially a theory.
Okay.
This is a stretch. This is me embracing you and Mark.
Okay,
and just wishing on a dream type thing.
Sure. Yeah.
Could that...
Why it was sealed shut? Who sealed it shut? That kind of feels like that would have been maybe done by the monsters.
We just solved Fromville.
Today, guest host Dawn and I are talking about the thrilling horror mystery show from Season 4, Episode 7, Best Laid Plans, so spoilers are ahead.
We'll be talking about Fatima's connection to Smiley,
the cost of Roger's resurrection,
the bag of teeth, the cave expedition, and more.
Quick shout out to our channel members. Thank you so much for your support so we can continue making these videos.
Now, let's get into the episode.
For me, I think there's kind of an overall thing that went through this episode, and that's kind of like the separation of knowledge that I think has built a lot of the tension and slowed down, the people of Fromville from being able to kind of do their best. And at the same time, there were some pretty big new revelations, even though I feel like not a lot really happened. It's like in the end, things were kind of back to where they were.
Yeah.
But I do think that new things were learned. So what were your thoughts on that?
I think that the separation of knowledge is a big hindrance in this season, I guess. Looking at like the man in yellow, Julie has seen the man in yellow and she story walked.
Yeah.
And Victor has seen the man in yellow.
Yes.
But they don't know the other one has seen the man in yellow because Julie doesn't know that they found the clothes.
Right.
And Victor doesn't know that she story walked and saw the man in yellow.
Right. Yeah. Julie has no clue that some of the central people in the town want to know who he is.
Right.
And that she has information that could be of use.
That's huge.
Yes.
Yes. And that she's keeping that all to herself and not telling anybody about it. If they would communicate and they would share knowledge. Now I get she's a teenage girl and she's dealing with stuff, so to that end I understand it, but
she is doing extremely dangerous things.
Yes.
Her mom would shut that down so quick.
Right.
And so I think so much of what she is hiding, I do think that they do a very good job of kind of giving a reason why people keep information to themselves. It drives me nuts. It's like your typical horror movie, where it's like if everybody just got in a circle and shared information, it probably wouldn't go down south. But I do think that the show does a good job of explaining it. It was like with Julie, she doesn't want to get in trouble with her mom. She wants to be able to keep being able to do these dangerous things because she thinks she could save her dad.
I think it's more about that, but more about saving her dad and less about her mom. I don't really think she cares very much anymore. She's still smoking pot, and when her mom caught her,
she's sneaking.
It was
she's trying to sneak.
Well, it helps me process.
Yeah.
So you dropped all this information on me, and you expect me to be okay with it, and I'm not, so I'm doing this.
Yeah.
I think she's kind of, she's rebelling a little bit.
Yeah.
And she's got a friend who is helping her do these things.
And then I think a bunch of the other people will keep that knowledge to themselves. For instance, Boyd.
Yes.
Boyd is still seeing things. But for me, the reason that he's doing it and the reason that a lot of people don't share personal things they're going through is because they don't want other people to think that they are crazy, that they are being poisoned by the town, that they're seeing, fake vision, something along those lines.
Right.
And so it's a way of still coming off as sane so that people will continue to trust you.
Right.
And it's unfortunate because I get it, but it does mean that sometimes there is this information that's being kept and sometimes it could be very useful.
Yes. But to that end, the flip side of that coin is that then in this episode, Boyd told everybody all of the plans.
I didn't quite understand
that. The fact that, why was that relevant? Even Donna pointed out when she was in bed. So you told a house full of scared people about reincarnation and, and that was a questionable thing for Boyd to share with everybody. And then later in the episode, when Sophia comes to the sheriff's station, And she's like, oh, I'm scared. What's your plan? He then's like, oh, I brought this totem back, and my plan is to stab them with it.
Right.
Okay, well, first off, she's a teenage girl as well, who is there after the loss of a parent.
Yeah.
And has no one there, has no family. No one's watching her. And Boyd just trauma dumps on her, like...
Or instead of no one's watching her, it's Sarah the psychopath. I don't think that she's a psychopath, but like I think that some people in Fromville certainly think that she is. And so I feel like people would be keeping an eye on her to make sure that Sarah wasn't sending her in the wrong direction, you know, but instead Sophia seems to be able to just like wander around and do whatever, and most people seem perfectly fine with it, which doesn't quite make sense to me.
Right.
Once again, like I feel for Sarah. I trust her. I get it. But I feel like there should be some people like who oh man, the one obnoxious guy who ended up in the pool, trapped in the pool.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's got to be, with the size of Colony House, there's got to be other people like that would, you know, kind of butt in and be like,
right,
you trust this girl with Sarah?
Right. But no one's doing it. Sophia, we see she's wandering around town. She chose to live with Sarah. Sarah didn't notice that Sophia spent the night in Colony House the night of the attack. So, I mean, it's fine. They're a community. Maybe it's okay. But it's just interesting that this girl came in there, suffered what they all believe is a great tragedy, great trauma.
Yeah.
As, you know, her dad died. And then she's just kind of allowed to do whatever with no guidance and no oversight. And everyone's just okay with it.
And then that's not more surprising. Like, I don't feel like there should be many people like Ethan and Sophia that are processing things so well, you know, and so I feel like that should be a little bit of a sign.
Yeah.
But to get it.
Right.
There was another one of those moments that, well, like the classic horror moment of doing the wrong thing that just made me want to yell at the TV screen, which was like when they did a good job of build up in this episode. They built up a few things, you know, like Henry is really being messed with, which is just pulls my heartstrings.
Yes.
You know, I think a lot of people guessed that Roger was going to be coming back. And so you can definitely see that building up.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the episode is called Best Laid Plans, and they're doing this huge plan around killing one of the monsters. And it's like, how well is that going to work out? And so it does all build to that. And I think it builds to that well. And then Boyd says to Kenny, stab the monster, get out, don't stick around to see what happens. And then Kenny stuck around to see what happened, and it was driving me nuts.
Yeah.
I could possibly still kind of, I mean, like, I get it. Oh, but it's...
Right.
It is infuriating.
Right. I mean, I don't think he expected the monster to, you know, oh, you got it. So Kenny was like, oh man, I nailed it, you know, and by the time the monster was like, gotcha, it was too late, you know, and then what's he do? So,
yeah.
I think he realized his mistake pretty quick at that point and was like, oh, I've for sure messed up.
I love the fact that the monster did like the community theater performance, you know? And he was like, oh, it hurts, I'm dying, you know? And it's like,
gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely didn't go to theater school, but that didn't stop him from putting on the fake performance, which I liked, you know? It's...
Yeah.
I doubt that the monsters are doing theater, you know? When they're like during the daytime, you know, when they're not like out stalking, I don't think that there's like a little theater troupe amongst them.
I imagine it's in between groups to Fromville. Like
between
once, you know, once this group is all dead.
Yeah.
When it was just Victor, they were like, you know.
The boring part, yes.
Right,
yes.
You know, in between those. Maybe that's what they do. But I did think Kenny's escape, whatever, led to, I mean, the end of the episode led to a very big revelation. Which is
huge
that,
revelation. And I feel like there were a few pretty big knowledge shifts in this one.
But I was just going to say, I think specifically like Fatima being able to see through Smiley's eyes.
Yes.
And stop his behavior. Like she was able to demonstrify him. Like he turned into his monster self and she was able to demonstrify him, which I thought was huge. And I think that has potential, talking about best laid plans and maybe going into like the tunnel explorations.
Mm-hmm.
Can she see through Smiley's eyes and map the tunnels? Because now maybe she realizes that she can see. Like, I don't know what triggered her being able to see.
Right.
Because she didn't know there was anything dangerous going on. So it's not like she panicked and saw something different.
Yeah.
So maybe he has to be in a monster form. I don't know. But she might be able to help map tunnels, which they weren't expecting Fatima to be part of that plan.
You know, so she was feeling what Smiley was feeling. And
right.
Does it work the other way around where Smiley can occasionally peek on what they're doing and use her as surveillance? And now that she realizes that it is two-way, can they potentially give fake information? And, you know, like they can have a meeting where they talk about what the plan is, you know, to her face, and make sure that, like, in case that, like, the sound isn't working, that Smiley can at least, like, read lips.
Right. We know that he can feel what she feels, because she did say that in one of the earlier episodes, that, you know, she's terrified and he can feel it.
And I think that he was enjoying it. Yes.
But also, this is starting to sound like Harry Potter's plot line.
I did think about that a little bit. Yeah.
You know, where it's like they can see into each other, and that's what they did in, spoiler alert, in Harry Potter. You know, it's like they did fake information to throw off the other one.
Yeah. That might be where I got that idea. And if they read Harry Potter, then they could have the same plan. And it's very unlikely that the monsters have read Harry Potter because they've been around for so long, but in Fromville, not in the real world since Harry Potter came out. So that's like a little bit of an advantage.
We just solved Fromville. So anyways, going back to Fatima, I do think potentially that could be a very big advantage for them if used appropriately. And it works, which, who knows? I feel like once you start having expectations, it shows like, oh, you think that's how it's going to go? Watch this. And
this and some of the other revelations that came in this episode, I think they make me hopeful because I was talking about this with Mark. So for anybody that misses Mark this episode, we had technical difficulties. We filmed an entire episode and then it was missing huge chunks of audio and video, and he didn't have time to film again before we need to get this out. Thus this. And
Thus
this monster.
Pulled her from the tunnels and let her out.
But, you know, one of the interesting things that he said was that the show feels, for a monster show, feels pretty grounded. And I think that some of what we learned this episode, I think really helps with that because it makes it feel like there are rules, there are limitations, there are costs to what they are doing. You know, it's not like they are omnipotent and can do whatever. It does make it seem, and that once you understand these things, that they can be reverse engineered, you know, like it can be used against them like a double-edged sword. And so it does make it feel like, you know, that it's not just like any kind of magic. Like there are rules and consequences.
Yeah.
And so it does, for me, I think, feel kind of surprisingly grounded for something that is a mystery and we don't know a bunch that's going on and involves crazy monsters and every season we get some new crazy monster.
Right.
And yet, I do think that it feels kind of grounded because of that.
I can definitely see that in comparison to some other monster things where you're like, what? They just magically got this power and there's no stopping them.
Right.
Interesting that you brought up like the rules and the exchange. I definitely feel in this episode it showed that it seems like there's a life for a life exchange here. When Sophia went into the chicken coop because she wanted to raise Roger's doll body, she picked up the first egg and like sniffed it, put it back, and picked up a second egg and sniffed it. And I think she was looking for one that was a viable, that had like a chicken side, that had a life inside.
Yeah, one that had been fertilized.
Right. Because then when she smashed it on Roger's body, there was blood in the yolk. And I do think that was probably an embryo of some sort, you know?
Right. And I can see that seems like a somewhat appropriate exchange. You know, it was like a life of a chicken for animating a doll. You know, this isn't like full life. This is like partial-ish life versus, you know, if you think about it, like the monsters had a similar but different exchange. And in their case, it is children.
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe children is important because maybe there's like the innocence of that. I mean, I doubt that they're like sin-free completely, but you know, like the innocence of children in order to gain something as huge as like immortality.
Right.
Those do seem like kind of opposites, but kind of equal-ish.
Okay. Interesting.
And so I can see that being like the cost of that exchange. So you know, so then you have to have certain things in order to get these. It's not like they can just raise the dead willy-nilly. Now, not that it would be that hard to get a hold of eggs to make more dolls, but still, like there's a structure, there are rules, there is a cost.
Yeah. Well, no one smashed eggs on the dolls that were brought out of the lake. They just brought them out of the lake, left them, and went to bed. And the dolls came to life.
They might have already been alive, just like seemed like Sophia brought Roger to life when she did the egg smashing. She gave a little incantation, but he didn't at that moment.
Right.
And then later, when she was ready to summon him to do the craziness, she does another incantation, and then it. So to me, I think like his soul was bonded to his, you know, lifeless body, his corpse. You know, when the little egg thing happened, and that she has some control because like she did that because she did the ceremony, and so then with like that second incantation, she was able to then, you know, trigger like kind of awakening it.
So do you think
that's my take on it?
You think the dolls from the lake were
already alive
and she incantated? And she did an incantation for them to wake up, or do you think that they just already had that life inside of them and they just needed certain conditions to be met? They needed to be not underwater.
I definitely don't know I feel like closer to the first one where it's like they were already like the scene was already set for them and something just needed to do like that last trigger.
Got it.
Is my guess.
Oh, I mean, I don't know. But I do think like it was kind of sad seeing that it woke up as Roger. You know, and like the kind of panic on his face as he felt.
Yeah.
You know, and then ripped off his like own jaw.
Right.
Down his own jaw. And I don't know. When he went to Colony House, I mean, can you imagine waking up? The last thing you remember was being attacked, right? By this giant doll getting your face ripped apart. And then you wake up and you feel yourself and you're like, your mouth is sewn shut. You have buttons for eyes. So can you see? I don't know. And then, you know, so you go to the place where you lived, like in a panic, and everyone there is terrified of you. And you're trying to get to the, I don't know, you're trying to get to the person who was there. And I don't know. I don't know that he was a monster at that point. Like I watched the show with closed captioning on.
Okay.
And it said that he roared. Like when you,
yeah.
I don't know.
But I mean, that could just be the sound of a sewn mouth shut scream.
I think he opened it. I think he opened his own.
Oh,
Because he ripped his mouth.
Maybe that's the sound that you make when your jaw is more open.
Maybe. But I don't know. I kind of feel like because he passed all the other people to go find Patty, that it like a little bit of Roger was in there.
It does feel like they left that ambiguous because he grabbed somebody on the stairs.
Right.
And, it could have been on accident, knocked them down because he's not used to his reanimated body.
Right.
Like I can give him that. It did look like he started to drag that person down, but once again, that could be kind of like reanimated because they didn't show him kill that person. And it does seem like that would have been a great opportunity. And instead, he started running to Patty.
Right.
Who was, the other person that, like,
who knew
partially dealt with the horrible thing he dealt with.
Right.
And maybe he was just, I couldn't tell on that. I couldn't tell if he was just, like, scared and confused and not completely under control of his, like, body because he's not used to it.
Right.
Or if after waking him up, that while he had that original sentience, and that's why he, like, screamed and tore his mouth open, that she then kind of took control, and it was one of those, like, get out situations where she just kind of, like, stuffed him down inside.
Maybe.
But then she was kind of operating the controls. I don't know, and it's a little ambiguous. And
I think they definitely did that on purpose, but I do feel like he was at least partially there.
Yeah. And going back to the original dolls, I don't think they came to be until after the one guy who was scared of the dolls died, which means that he could have been one of the ones that was used to reanimate.
What do you mean?
That doll. So when Tabitha remembered the childhood memory and the guy who was scared of the dolls threw them in the lake.
Right.
I think she said something like, after he died, that's when they became dolls. Something like, I remember it was like, she mentioned him passing.
Okay.
And so I do wonder whether or not it was, because then I think somebody else pointed out that, like, it seems like the nightmares of the people who die become the things. And so that might have been more than just, like, the nightmare. Like, he might have been kind of trapped in there. Also, I think another one of the things that, like, this new information, this new rule points to is possibly Marielle being right about souls not leaving there. That because it, like you said, it did seem like that was Roger inside.
Right.
And that could also explain how...
I mean, the Ankui children are obviously still there.
That could explain how Smiley was able to be brought back, because, like, his soul never left that area when he was killed. And so they just needed to do the right ritual and the right exchange in order to kind of bring him back.
Well, I think that's part of their pact, is that they would live forever. So I think maybe in that episode they kind of, maybe not explicitly explain that, but it's like, that is part of it. It's like they will live forever, so if they die, they'll just be reborn. So I guess to what you're saying is, yes, I don't think they expect their soul to leave. I think they are there now.
But I'll keep this short because this may be getting way too geeky. I do feel like most immortality still has some kind of limits to it, so it's like, they're going to be making a remake of The Highlander, and all of the Highlanders are immortal, but they can still kill each other. So they don't die of old age. I don't think they get disease. To a certain extent, we have animals that are immortal, which is like lobsters. They just, unfortunately, because like they don't get, I don't think they generally die of disease. They eventually don't have enough energy to be able to molt or shed their skin, whatever that's called, and so they stop eating and they starve to death. But they don't die of old age. They don't die of, I think, cancer. They don't, they just, at some point, they just stop eating.
But
and that's not the best, like, that's not like supernatural.
Right.
But like I said, kind of like going back to, like the Highlander, I do feel that many forms of immortality will have some caveat attached where it's like, maybe they have really strong healing, but if you do enough damage the right way, like you can, like kill them.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that that's the way it is here,
We'll see.
that's the way I oftentimes think of kind of immortality.
Okay. Thinking of that, I was thinking of the sacrifice, and this is a little bit different, but it made me wonder, how did the man in yellow get all of his personas?
That's first assuming that he has multiple personas.
Well, we know he has two. Well, I mean, like, he was a man in yellow, and now he's a young girl.
Yeah.
So we're assuming, yes, that he has other suitcases with other people.
I've wondered that,
so
but I definitely don't know that. Yes.
I'm doubtful that, I mean, I could be wrong, but maybe people are sacrificing others to him. Or, since the man in yellow, it seems like he was a little bit more hands-off before.
Yeah. Unless,
or does it have something to do with the people he kills? Like, could he have Jim now as a little suitcase?
He might be able to.
And would that really rock people's world if Jim showed back up in Fromville? I'm not saying it's going to happen, and maybe it's not it. Maybe it has to be a sacrifice. Jim wasn't a sacrifice. He was murdered. Yeah. But the man in yellow specifically killed Jim. Like, it wasn't one of his minions. It was him. And if he's able to take the souls of people that he kills, he might have Jim in a suitcase somewhere.
Probably way off on this.
Okay.
But that could explain two things about Jim in this season, episode 2, when Jim's dead at this point.
Right.
He shows up for Ethan.
Correct.
He tells Ethan to look for the Lake of Tears.
Right.
But he also keeps looking around.
Right.
And
what's he looking for? Was
that the man in yellow, and he was like trying to make sure he didn't get caught?
Oh, that Jim was the man in yellow?
I'm asking that as a possibility. Could that have been the man in yellow? And he's like specifically sending Ethan down this weird. And here's the other reason why I could possibly see this, but I also have already a better explanation for it.
Okay.
Jim's hair looked funky in that episode. It looked like it was like recently dyed or something like that. It also looked much cleaner than it normally did. Like, I think that they, like had a like slightly, not in a bad way, kind of like greasy look to it. But like it had, and this looked like freshly saloned, much darker than usual.
Okay.
And the real reason that I think that this is because it did say like guest starring whoever the actor is as Jim, and I think that's because he died, and to a certain extent he was written out, and they didn't know that they didn't know if they were going to bring him back or not, or like to what extent, and so he was allowed to do other stuff.
Right.
And so when they needed to bring him back, maybe they had to maybe he'd done something with his hair and they had to put a wig on him. And that explains the difference in the look. But it did look different than the normal Jim look.
Okay.
That could just be the guest appearance. But it does send me down that little rabbit hole of what if it's a man?
I mean, when I was watching the episode, it didn't really come to me. I mean, I thought about it, but it wasn't until we find the teeth later, which we'll discuss. But then I was like, oh, there's a lot of those teeth. A lot of those teeth.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, he could, there were a lot of people dead by the time Victor was all by himself. Right. And he could have taken one from each of those people.
Right.
So that, it doesn't necessarily have to be over a long period of time. Although that still was a lot of teeth.
No, but are those his personality? Are those the people he can become? Let's just jump into this bag of teeth. Okay. So first off, I thought it was a little strange that they find it in the car. The car, when Victor is looking into the car, you can see the car has been stripped.
Yeah.
Inside. Everything is gone, right?
for anybody who hasn't seen that, when you say stripped, like the panels
yes, of the door.
side of the door.
Yes.
Not like somebody took the change from the cup holder.
Or the radio.
Like it was weirdly stripped.
Right.
Yes.
And the glove box was already open.
Yes.
And there was just a little pouch inside.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm pretty sure that if I was going to go through a car and take what I thought was valuable, like, I would either throw what I don't need on the ground or, I wouldn't just leave the little bag in there for someone else. So, I do have potentially a theory.
Okay.
But I'm not sure.
Okay.
So the bag was very interesting to me because it's like, this doesn't fit.
Yeah.
Right? Like, whoever stripped this car obviously has seen this. So, who would leave it? So is it something that the man in yellow revisits? And, like, that's where he, like, stores things because nobody goes out there anymore?
Yeah.
Or, this is a stretch. This is me embracing you and Mark.
Okay,
and just, wishing on a dream type thing.
Sure. Yeah.
Could that bag be left by the boy in white as a clue?
Okay.
Of some sort. Whether it's, look, there's other people he could be, so be suspicious. Like, don't focus on the man in yellow.
Yeah.
I mean, they obviously can't run DNA in Fromville, so they can't tell who the teeth are from. But, so is it a clue from maybe the boy in white to help? Because he's tried to help in the past.
I know.
Or is it almost like a torture thing left by the man in yellow? Like, look at all of the people that I've killed.
Yeah, but it also kind of reminds me of a similar question I had at the very beginning of the season.
Okay.
Which was that when the man in yellow changed, he just chucked aside his yellow jacket and just left it there.
Right.
And was that intentional? Did he want to, because my theory was, like, what if he wants to sow that fear of he's among us, and then it creates that whole, like, traitors thing where people are looking at each other and pointing at each other.
Right.
And, and then people start doing dangerous things where they, like, vote each other out of existence.
Right.
For their own safety,
Right.
So I do wonder about that. I could see that. I did wonder if the teeth allowed him to transform or something like that. I did go back to the scene where he transformed to see if the bag was nearby. Like, maybe he needed their clothes and to, like, put in one piece of them, like a tooth.
Right.
I didn't see the bag or the teeth.
Right.
But the show also likes to, like, keep its surprises close to its chest.
Right.
And reveal them when it's ready. So
that's what I'm thinking. I could really see it either way. Like, I could see it as kind of like a reminder, like, I'm always around, I can be anybody, and this is where I keep my things. Or I could see it as maybe we saw so much of the boy in white in the previous seasons, and we've seen him once this season. I feel like they're not just going to drop that character. He has to come back at some point, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and he's changing. That was like the interaction we saw. It was like, oh, you're bigger now. Well, I'm changing, and then we haven't seen him since. And I thought they'd bring him back in some capacity.
At this age, they become less interested, So it's like, that the boy in white is just, like, playing his Nintendo Switch somewhere instead of interacting with others. It's like it's that age.
Maybe, but
now they found the teeth, but to a certain extent, once again with, like, the separation of knowledge. Does it matter? Because unfortunately, Victor was super creepy, and I get what he was doing, right?
Yeah.
Like, he thinks Ethan is going to be the next me.
Yeah.
And he needs to be prepared for it. So I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off. But that unfortunately threw Tabitha into protective mode. So I don't know if she was, like, really paying attention to the fact that was potentially something coming from the man in yellow, and, like, let's discuss it, let's look at it.
Right.
And instead, she's like, why would you do that? And then she runs off to, like, deal with her son, and I don't know if that's going to be on the forefront of her mind when she'll communicate that with others.
I don't know that she will, but I bet Ethan will say something. He's a kid. He'll just say something. But
somebody needs to. But like I
Agreed.
worry that like that information is just going to get lost for a while because that whole interaction made it awkward, and so like they're not focused on it the way they should.
But Victor was very excited, for lack of a better word, to find the bag. Like once he saw what was in it, he didn't like panic and drop it. I'm not saying he was excited in like a happy way, but it evoked something in him, and he wanted to bring it with him. That's what it felt like to me. It was like he wasn't just originally going to show it because he brought it, and then she was like, "What's that?" And he was like, "Oh, it's teeth." And that's when he like, "No, you have to look." But at first, he was just gonna bring it home with him.
Maybe.
And so I'll say that. That's what I'm wondering if it meant maybe it's something we don't know yet. That like maybe Victor's found a bag of teeth before. And
he might have seen the man in yellow pulling teeth when he was,
and so maybe
after he was done with the, and so like I kind of took it as that's when he had his big aha moment of like he already knew that he saw the man in yellow's jacket, and it's like, oh no, does this mean he's nearby? And then he finds the bag of teeth, and then it was like it's happening all over again. And I took it as at that point in his head, he connected the dots. I don't know if that's actually what's going to happen, but like he connected the dots that Ethan is going to be the next him, and he needed to get Ethan ready, and that was, it seemed more like a drive to me than an excitement. It was like he knew what he needed to do next,
right,
and so he was very focused on doing it.
No, that's a better way to describe it. It's just like it triggered something in him. He didn't just like look at it. He wasn't surprised, like, what? What is this? Like, it meant something. It triggered something. And I could see him running back and, like, going to Boyd with, like, proof. Like, because he just said in that episode, like, we need to focus on the man in yellow. I'm like, also, here are his teeth. And if he runs into Colony House and just does it in public, maybe that's when Julie will overhear. Like, at some point, I do feel like they need to connect the two, the man in yellow.
There's a bunch of things that need to connect.
That is fair. That is true.
Poor Julie is like so defeated by things not going well with the whole bookmark thing that she's like temporarily given up on it, but it's like you're close. You just got to keep You just got to keep going.
You mentioned this earlier, and it's made me think about it when I was thinking about the boy in white. The wedding picture in the Viewmaster.
Yes.
Who's showing him pictures, and what is the point of showing him? Is that torture? Like, or is it a hint? Like, keep an eye on Henry.
Yeah.
Remember what happened here?
Right.
Otherwise, what's the point of that? It just kind of came out of nowhere. Is it just a mess with him?
I mean, we keep getting hints of his wife. There was like the arm coming out of her grave is.
Yep.
And I know I theorized that maybe that was like a story walking Julie, that just like the faraway trees can put you in weird places, that maybe she went back to that time and in that spot, and then luckily she was pulled out before she...
Right.
I still think that's an interesting idea, but it's probably not it. And if that's not the case, then like Boyd does keep seeing these visions of
his wife. So what is her...
his like, zombie wife,
So what is her importance to this? Like, why her? I mean, obviously she
It's
kind
to
of
torture
started...
him, I assume.
Right, okay.
I think she used to be a Marine.
Yeah.
Which could give her a tie to Martin, because he was in the military.
Okay.
And I feel like Martin has to have more of a backstory, or maybe not. It feels like at some point we might learn more about him. Martin.
Speaking of Martin, who are all those people that are chained up? Were they from Villers?
I assume that they were like the previous iteration.
And how'd they get
Which
there?
was really unfortunate for Martin, because like he'd been...
Right.
He was chained for...
Right.
Decades.
Right. But why did they stay there? Like, why did the three that took their place from our time, like they got to come back out of it?
Yeah.
So
I got the impression that like the music box monster always wants to have at least one. So it kept Martin alive until it had the next batch lined up, was kind of my take on that.
Okay.
But I don't know. So this episode, they continued to dance around something that I theorized on last episode, which is, we got a little bit more information about the cave expedition to deal with the bones of the Ankui children. And I was kind of wondering this episode about, like, why the door was sealed shut. How it was sealed shut, because I couldn't see that it was sealed shut, so I don't know if it was sealed from inside the cave.
Right.
Why it was sealed shut, who sealed it shut. If it was sealed from the side of the cave, that kind of feels like that would have been maybe done by the monsters in order to make it so that, like, the only opening to the cave or openings are out there, and you have to go into an exposed area for a decent chunk of time before you can get to the opening of the caves.
Okay.
Versus, like, being able to come from, like, the safety of your colony house, bing, bang, boom, into the caves, out of the caves. And that's, like, potentially a way for them to better protect that space.
Okay.
And so I theorized last episode that the best time to go into the caves will be at nighttime.
Right.
Because that's when the monsters will be out.
Right.
So they won't be in the caves.
Right.
And then if that door is sealed shut, then it's like they have two options. They go out during the nighttime where the monsters are to go into the caves, or they break down the door. And does that potentially... I don't know if they can, like, unseal it. If they have to break it down, does that mean that Colony House is now breached? And the monster, it would be like having a window open, and the monsters now have, like...
access?
Free access?
That's true.
I do think that Boyd is going in on this plan, and that he is starting to understand more that this risk may be necessary, and that it's a huge calculated risk, and that they kind of have to do it. I think it has the potential to go very wrong and very right. I think that something good could come out of it, but I think that we could lose a decent number of lives in the way.
Yeah.
And I think we started to see his team form of who's going to go in, which to me makes it an even more compelling reason of him losing some of those people.
Okay.
Because this episode, as he was trying to work on his plan of, like, stabbing the monster.
Yep. So who do you think's going in there?
So Akasa was like, you can't just have me doing this stuff. She's like, I want in on the caves. And he's like, you're there for the caves.
Okay. I thought you said we'll talk about that when we get there. He was using her to research.
Yes. Maybe he said, it seemed like he said, like, you're basically right. And then when Sarah wanted to take his place as the stabber, and I thought he said, like, I'm going to need you for the caves.
Okay.
And those two, I think, Acosta was ready to let herself go. She was ready to take her own life, unfortunately. And so I think that she isn't scared to throw away her life. Like, best case scenario, she saves everybody.
Yeah.
Which would feel like she's doing something.
Plus, she's an officer. Like, she's ready to sacrifice herself to save others. Like, that is what, first responders and especially police officers put their lives in danger all the time.
So I think it feels that, and I think it could... I think she does feel some guilt about taking the life she did when she first went in there.
Right.
I don't blame her for that. Like, that was a weird situation. Yeah. You don't normally meet monsters, and then you're trying to shoot them, and it turns out that you go through a house to people,
Yeah.
So I don't really hold that one against her. And then the other one is Sarah. And I think that Sarah accepts that some people see her as a monster, and I think to a certain extent she kind of sees herself that way.
Yeah, I definitely think she sees herself that way. That's a guilt I don't think she's going to be able to really ever let go.
That's why I think it was so easy for her to step in for Boyd.
Yeah.
When the whole Elgin thing was happening.
Yeah.
She was like, it can't be you.
Yeah.
This town needs you. These people need you to be a good person.
Right.
They already view me as a monster. let me take on that role. And I don't think that she will ever completely forgive herself. Like, I think she could save 10 busfuls of children, and that still wouldn't make up for the fact that she took a life. And it was,
Right.
you know,
Her brother's life.
her brother's life.
And tried to take life of a child.
And did something that allowed Kenny's dad's life to be taken.
Right.
And so
Right.
I think that
Right. Forgot about that.
I think that this could be a great redemption arc.
Yeah.
And it would hurt that she, after everything that she's been through, that she would put herself into that situation and that it could go very south. And that's my prediction of where that could go.
Okay. You got any more for the team or just those two right now?
Those are, I mean, I think that Jade's going in.
I think Jade's going in.
Yeah, I mean, he's like, the way that he was doing the whole like spatial mapping thing, do you think he can describe that to anybody else?
No, I don't. But I don't know. Jade could. So in the previous life, I can't think of what his name was in the previous one, and he was with
Christopher.
Marina. Christopher. Victor had said that Christopher started getting weird and changed, and I don't know. Is Jade going to be the hero, or is history going to repeat itself?
But I think that the reason that Christopher changed was because the boy in white told him the information instead of letting him learn it. Because that was the whole conversation that when Victor was trying to remember what the puppet said,
right.
Jasper, it turned out that it wasn't the puppet, it was the boy in white talking to Christopher. And then the boy in white, I don't remember to who, the boy in white said to somebody, I tried to tell you guys in the past.
Right, I do remember
and it
that.
didn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm doing a whole new thing where I'm hands off and I'm going to play the Nintendo Switch most of the time.
That's why you haven't seen me all season.
That's why you haven't seen me all season. And so I think he tried that, and I think that Christopher wasn't ready for it because that information was just like shoved on him versus him trying to get it like Jade did. And so I think Jade was ready. He was like an empty sponge that wanted the information.
I mean,
I think that's the difference.
Isn't that what they just did to Henry? Like, let me tell you all of the things that you weren't ready to accept about your dead wife.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they just did that to him. And who knows what the blood of the Man in Yellow / Sophia did to him. And now he's having visions. Like, is he going to start telling people it's not real? Because that's what Boyd's wife...
That's what happened. His story is paralleling Abby's, and that has me worried. It's really sad to me that when we saw him on the other side, it looked like a non-broken Victor that was there.
Yeah.
And I think that, unfortunately, that's kind of a fantasy that's hard for him not to kind of want. And maybe that's like a guilty fantasy of like having, I think anybody that has, like a special needs child, I think they love their child, but I think that there are times that they probably wish it was easier. And I think he's seeing like this alternate world that he can possibly believe like, oh, that's the real one. And this is the nightmare where my son is broken and I could have. And it's sad.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just any parent. They always want what's best for their child. They want their child to be in the best predicament. They want their child to be happy. They want their child, to succeed and be happy. And I think that I don't necessarily want to call Victor broken, but I see what you're saying. Like, he's been through a lot. He's been traumatized. He's been alone.
Yeah.
And then seeing him like compassionate and because Victor's kind of emotionally like void from his dad. Like he's just not very, emotive and emotional with his dad.
Yeah.
Whereas in that vision, it was like, Dad, are you there? And it felt like they had a bond.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure is, and we know that that Frumville thrives on like fears.
Mm-hmm.
But this is almost like the flip side of that coin where it's like, I'm going to take the thing you wanted the most.
Your desire. And
I'm going to use that as a weapon. Like
yeah.
They're just weaponizing, whether it's your fears or your desires, whatever you don't have or whatever you want, like that's what I'm going to use. And I think that's really sad, and I think it's really going to be tough for Henry to kind of, I mean, he's already spiraling before he got that vision, and I don't think it's going to go anywhere good.
I'm hoping that there is part of him that sees that it's kind of like a fantasy, because he had, from when he first came here to right before he started spiraling, like right before he learned that the man in yellow
ate his wife.
I think before he learned that, he had such a great arc of, he was struggling with his son Victor, and it was because he was very much doing things on his terms and his understanding, and not trying to understand who Victor was and what Victor needed, and not meeting Victor at where he was.
Yeah.
And I think he finally figured that out, and they got such a great relationship.
Yeah, they were just starting to meet.
Because of that.
In the middle.
And so I hope that that's kind of the thing that snaps him out, is that he realizes, like, this would be nice. It'd be nice if it was easy, and like Victor was a normal kid and you could like play ball with him, but that's not who he is. And if that's not who he is, then that's not him, and my son needs me. And I worry, but I hope.
Yeah.